with our fine senator, even after he stepped out on his own and did a press conference after we all agreed to stick together.
Bradford's bills passed all committees, but during the last week of session, when they were one step away from reaching Newsom's desk, the Black Caucus collectively decided to kill the bills and reintroduce them next year. This after Bradford rejected amendments by the governor's office to turn the reparations agency bill into a $6 million study.
We didn't need another study. Now is the time for action.
McKinnon adds the caucus didn't think the bill would get Newsom's signature without the amendments.
We hadn't baked this enough, and so I believe that the $6 million amendment
That's why,
that the governor was
sorry to
putting
say,
forth was not to go study reparations, but it was to go get information on lineage and study what our Japanese Americans did.
Senator Lola Smallwood Cuevas says Bradford didn't consult with the Black Caucus when he refused to take the amendments.
I think we can come back from this experience, which, really did damage our collective efforts to achieve reparations. And I think part of repairing this harm through this policy is also repairing the division in our community.
Assemblymember Isaac Bryan told KBLA he believes it was a mistake to not vote on the bills.
these women is basically sell
And I'll let that be known. But I also think that this is an incredible Black Caucus.
Members of the Black Caucus all
That
agree
dude
they
is
want
a
to build better
sellout.
relationships with the community as they look ahead to next year. Moore says she's ready to keep pushing and advocating for reparations.
It's going to take pressure on the legislators, but also a multicultural coalition, and first and foremost, Black unity.
No, it's going to take.
Joining me now is State
There's
Senator
no
Stephen
fucking-
Bradford. Good to see you, Senator.
These
Always
women
good
is
to see you.
fucking
Thank
just
you for this
basically saying we
opportunity.
doing what Master say
Two
do.
of your reparations bills did not pass before the end of this legislative session, SB 1403 and SB 1331. Governor Newsom proposed amendments to SB 1403 by turning the reparations agency bill into a study, but you rejected those amendments, saying the state didn't need another study, that it was time for action. Where do you go from here?
Well, we just continue to advocate and educate the public as to the importance of the agency. It was one of the foundations of the 115 recommendations from the task force, their final report, which was 1,100 pages. As you well know, I spent 2 years of my life on that task force, and I was adamant about the fact that two things needed to happen in order for reparations to be real. One, you would have to have some kind of agency or department to oversee whatever reparations would be, and two, it had to be in the budget. We succeeded, even in a deficit year, of securing $12 million in the budget for reparations. Not a lot of money, but it signaled that we were committed to it. We often say that the budget is a reflection of our values and our commitments, so having that $12 million in there was a good signal to not only my colleagues, but to the state that we were serious about this. So I'm going to continue letting my voice be heard.
Some members of the Black Caucus, which you are a member of, have said that they did not think SB 1403 would get the governor's signature without the amendments. What's your response to that?
Well, that was never expressed to me, and I had ongoing meetings with the governor's staff all the way up until last couple of days of session. They did express the fiscal concerns, but I clearly explained we could have worked our way through it. We secured $12 million in the budget for reparations. I says, even if we stood up the agency, it wouldn't be fully staffed in 1 year. It would be a gradual build out. So if we dedicated $2 million a year for the next 3 years until the economy turned around, we could easily fund this without going through the whole $12 million. So that was my suggestion. But again, the governor's staff never threatened me with a veto. They just said they had concerns about the fiscal aspects of it.
So what needs to happen in the next year to make sure that SB 1403 and SB 1331, once reintroduced, actually get to the governor's desk?
Have a commitment by all those that are involved, not only the Black Caucus, but our colleagues in the Assembly and both the Senate, to show that reparations is a priority here in California, and that we can lead the nation as to what needs to be done, the right, the wrongs, and the harms that still exist today from, over 200 years of chattel slavery here in this country. So just being courageous and moving forward with real intentions to get this across the finish line.
Senator, I know a lot of the public actually attended the vote. What was the reaction from them once they found out that it was not going to proceed during this legislative session?
Disappointment, heartbreak. I mean, many of these folks have been following this process for the last 3 years, the 2 years during the task force, attending all of those meetings up and down the state, and following our bills, especially mine, as it worked its way both through the Senate and through the various committees, being there to testify or just show their support. So they were there over the weekend or over that last week, not to protest, but to celebrate what they thought was going to be the passage of those 3 measures. And once it didn't happen, I mean, they were definitely disappointed. But again, they're going to keep their commitment to moving reparations forward here in California, and they're going to stay unified, and they're going to let their voices be heard, because we need them as well. As an individual who spent 14 years in the legislature and have always put people first, just we got to continue to listen to the people in California as well as the nation. We're depending on us to get this done, and in a way we dropped the ball right when we were at the finish line. So not only was people in California watching, the nation was watching too. So I'm just disappointed that we weren't able to do it, but I'm going to keep hope alive and keep working and being supportive any way I can once I'm termed out at the end of this year, to move reparations in a real meaningful way here in California and for the rest of the nation to follow.
California was the first state to create this kind of a reparations task force, and it's actually created some national momentum. What's happening in some of the other states in terms of creating similar task force or addressing some of these issues?
New York is a prime example, who were following exactly what we were doing. My colleague in the NBCSL, National Black Caucus State Legislator, Senator James Sanders out of New York, has, been doing everything we tried to do. They stood up their task force earlier this year. I participated in a variety of meetings with them. We were on panels last year as well together about next steps for New York. There are other states such as Illinois and even Florida has reached out to try to see what we were doing and set up similar task force across there's in their respective states, I should say, to stand up reparations. So we were the model that everybody was following, and I still think they're gonna, continue on and just learn from the mistakes that we made, and hopefully they'll be successful in moving a real substantive package forward in their respective states.
Senator Bradford, I know that the reparations is something that you are really diligent about, so I'm sure we will be hearing from you again about this soon. Thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you, as always.
Those black women were full of shit. That's why they love the black woman in politics. They know she will be docile and dormant, and she will not fight like that.
Very special person. We'll be right back.
Talk about, let's see what the Japanese did. Let's see what the Japanese did. They ain't do nothing special. They were just granted reparations as they got it.